All right, guys. So we're going to cover how we actually utilize social media to make money. So the common myth within social media is that all you need to do is go and post some photos, and then you're done. that's job over. Hopefully those photos get you some traction, but you're thinking maybe that traction will get me maybe a new client, or it'll give me exposure to a new partner, but that's really the end of your strategy. So if that's been your strategy so far, that's okay, that's normal, but that's also not a very great utilization of your time, because that's not really making sure that we actually have a two-way conversation, which is what's needed in order to actually sell from social media. So what do we need to do instead? The first thing that we need to establish with social media is that social media is social. So what do I actually mean by that? Social media means that we have an opportunity to have a two-way conversation. So let's, that eraser's really not bueno. Let's take a look at something that we've already addressed kind of in the past, and that is looking at our ideal customer. You guys remember talking about our ideal customer, our imaginary friend? So of all the different people that we could be doing business with, we picked the one that we wanted to actually talk to, the one that we wanted to address, correct? Mm-hmm. Now that's awesome, but often what we're doing in our businesses is we, in our business as a potential group of people, we'll talk about us or the team. And so we're still having a conversation often where it's us talking to that one person. That's not a intimate conversation, that's not a personal conversation. So that person still feels like, you know what, yes, they're talking to me, but they're talking to me as a group. And it's not a conversation that's happening at an intimate level that they're actually going to connect with you on. So what we need to do, if this is your client, and this is your business, I'm going to put brand here because it's going to be relevant as we move forward. Instead of talking about it from a we context, we need to start talking about ourselves from an I context. So it's me to you, not we to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Like personalize it essentially?
Personalize it. So for you guys that are running teams, have you ever written an email and said this is from either from the business, so from Next Level Motors, or from the team at Next Level Motors, for instance, as opposed to from Raz? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And this is something that we did for years, both at the resort with Basic Bananas as well. We said from the Bananas, like from the Basic Bananas team, and we just found that our engagement, initially we learned this through email. Initially our engagement in emails was just not, it wasn't as high as we would have liked it to have been. So we were just experimenting. We started split testing emails, and we'd send out the same email to half of our people that would say from the Bananas team, and then the other half would get an email, same email, but all it would say is from Eric, for instance, right? And looking at the reply rate, the response rate on those emails, for the emails that we wanted response rate on, the response rate was dramatically higher on the emails where it was from an individual as opposed to from a group. So then I was like, okay, how do we take this and apply this to social media? How do we take this concept and make sure that we're talking to our audience on social media from an I perspective? Yeah. So that leads me into my first secret, which is you're not going to be able to accurately communicate to your audience unless you have a firm idea of who you are as the business, what your own brand personality is. So as much as we need to have an imaginary friend on this side, we actually need to have an imaginary person representation of your business as well. You guys with me?
Yep.
So to give you guys a little bit of context, this is an example from Freshline. You guys all familiar with Freshline at this point? Have I given examples before? No. So Freshline, some of you guys know, some of you don't. Freshline is the international motorcycle company club that I run. We do tours or treks around the world, adventure treks around the world, on motorcycles. And so within Freshline, we needed to identify who we were talking to, but we also needed to identify who we were ourselves, the perspective that we were talking from. So In this case, you guys already know this first bit, which is let's go back and establish your imaginary friend. For Freshline, we put this into a high level of detail, and I don't even know if we've gotten into this level of detail yet in this course, but for Freshline, this is who we started putting together for the guy that we were going after. So who is he? We give him a name. His name's Kurt. What are characteristics of Kurt? We obviously have his age. We have whether he's married, he's got kids, things, his likes and interests. So what is he into? You guys can feel free to take a picture of that if you want.
For escape guilt.
And then you can see we've also got his challenges and frustrations on the other side there, right? So this is demographic information, and as well as wants and problems. Now you guys are familiar with that. We've actually taken it to another level beyond that though. We also have a picture of him so we know exactly who we're talking to. That's our imaginary friend on this side. We take it deeper. We actually will look at what are his values, what are the things that he values, because now we can actually resonate on that level. In this case, for a lot of you guys, it's not necessarily going to be skills, but it's going to be maybe how this person defines themselves, or maybe relevant information to your industry. The reason that we have skills here is because us as an adventure motorcycle club, sometimes we end up in situations where we need to get out of that situation, and we need to do it in a way that happens fairly rapidly. Because there have been times, these are all real scenarios that have happened to us, where we've been caught in a monsoon in the middle of nowhere, and we have a breakdown and we need to fix it in the rain. Well, we want guys that know what they're doing, as opposed to us just sitting there for a few hours getting soaked and having no idea what's going on.
Yeah, you don't want like 20 accountants, you want like 20 MacGyvers.
Yeah, exactly. Or we have, we've been stuck in militarized zones. We've been broken down in militarized zones where we've got drug traffickers and stuff in the middle of the jungle, and we're like, we don't want to stick around here forever. We don't want to be stuck here as I don't know, sitting ducks basically, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta have guys where now this becomes a relevant piece of information for us and who we're actually attracting as our in this case, our prospect or our client. So for you guys, are skills gonna be relevant? Probably not for most of your industries, but there might be some relevant information here in terms of how does this person define themselves, or what's a little bit of their history. We also have how they grew up. I think that's kind of important information because it allows us to connect with, you know, what's their history. There's a lot that plays into the memories you have as a child, and reconnecting with that if somebody's writing about something that's similar to that, and you're seeing it and you're like, yes, this is me, because a lot of how you grew up defines who you are. We agree? Or it defines, I shouldn't say defines who we are, but it definitely impacts how we think now. Another big thing that we do is we'll actually identify different brands that this person identifies with. What are other brands that they're already into? Because that does some of the work for us. We're like, these brands, they've done a lot of the work in attracting this person. So what are those brands? And then just as importantly, what are the unifying characteristics of those brands? Does that make sense?
What is KTM? Is that
It's a motorcycle.
Motorcycle brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we take this to a much, much deeper level. And what I can tell you guys is for Freshline, I am consistently blown away by how closely our guys resemble this guy. Now that we have an understanding of who he is, we keep attracting Kurt again and again and again, and it makes it much easier to attract him because we know who we're talking to and how we're talking to him and what that process looks like, right? So that's great. We've got an idea of imaginary friend. You guys have already done some of that work. What we're gonna focus on a little bit more right now is your brand. I'm gonna call this your attractive character. So your attractive character is what's the brand personality that you wanna play into your company. I'm gonna give you guys an example from Cozy Cabins. So Cozy Cabins, as I give examples, I'm just popping web pages up to give you a reference. Cozy Cabins, we've got, our imaginary friend is Val. That's the lady that's coming to stay with us. She's a mom, she's 38, she's got 2 kids, 8 and 12, we have an understanding of who Val is, right? And then she's got her own wants and problems and challenges. On the other side of that, when we're looking at our brand identity, I was looking at, okay, if I could describe my brand like a person, who would that person be? And all of us are probably gonna look for some kind of context or reference to people that we might know of. and say, who's the most realistic representation of our brand, of our business? And as I was thinking about it, in our case, for Cozy Cabins, the most accurate representation of a person that I could think of that would be a good representation of the brand was my grandmother, Donna, right? So now what I've done is I've got Val on the client side, and now I've got Donna, who is representing our brand. And now, really, most of the questions within the business become, what would Donna do? Okay? But we have to define who Donna is. Now, there's a number of different characteristics that play into that, not all of which I've written down here, but we can say Donna's altruistic. She's the kind of grandma that would go and bake cookies for us just because she wanted to. Donna likes, here's kind of the level that we took it to. Donna, she keeps her yard immaculate, and she loves flowers and gardens, and she keeps it all looking pristine. So even when we were looking at the resort, I was looking at it and I was like, you know what, this is not how Donna would keep it. So what's Donna's standard? And actually changed how we presented the resort, both the front entrance and everything we had there as far as landscaping and flowers went, and the rest of the property. Is this the way that Donna would look at it, right? The other thing with Donna is that she is, she'll speak about the situation the way it is, but she often has a cheeky side to her. Well, she'll throw in a cheeky little comment in there. So that's the part of the personality that started to come through in our social media. We actually established what was the brand personality that we wanted from Donna. Direct, clean, obviously. She's a clean grandmother, but she can be a little bit cheeky. And then there's also sub voices here. So here she is super honest. She likes to use different examples, and then she can be polarized on certain issues where she's like, no, this is what I believe, and that's the way it is.
That's very grandma.
Yeah. Which are good. They actually plays into what we'll talk about a little bit later, which is what are characteristics that go into an attractive character. So now that we've established that brand personality, direct, clean, cheeky, that plays into our social media posts. So here's an example of what this kind of looks like. With Cozy Cabins, as I said, prior to understanding how our brand played into this, we would just post photos. We'd just post photos on our social media accounts because that's all we knew how to do. That's all I knew how to do. So here's an example of us just posting a photo. This is one of the photos that was posted. Now, would you guys agree with me that it's a good photo?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's a great photo. This is actually a side note. These photos, a lot of these photos were from us. I work with influencers, so influencers on social media. And so what we'll do is we'll give them free stays in exchange for photos and basically shout outs on social media. So this is from one of the influencers that came. This is one of his photos. It's a great photo. However, we have no context for brand personality. So we put here plain peekaboo with the deer cabin, photo credit to obviously the social media influencer. Now it's not even a bad comment. There's nothing wrong with the comment. It's a little bit fun, but it doesn't actually invoke a sense of this is me talking to you.
Right.
And what I want you guys to pay attention to here are the number of comments on it and the number of likes. So we've got 2 comments and we've got 214 likes, okay? Now look at the date. This is July 10th, because this is where the transition happened, July 10th. Now, I switched to understanding brand personality. We're on July 17th, only 1 week later, right? I switch to brand personality. Now we've got a photo. I would actually argue it's not even as nice as the previous photo.
I agree.
But what I've done is I've started adding in brand personality into my post, okay? I'm talking from an I perspective as opposed to a we perspective. And I've got clean and then cheeky in there. You guys see that?
And then you even have the parable right there. I guess the idea is to take a walk.
Yeah, so you understand
Yeah, it's really well done.
the personality that's now flowing into that? Make sense? Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is we went from 2 comments to 8 comments, and we more than doubled our likes. We've got over 500 likes now,
Wow.
Yeah.
right? I think, this is my theory, I haven't actually heard this from anybody else, and I'm sure lots of people probably say it, I just haven't heard it. I think that what you actually write here matters a lot. And most people don't get that. Social media so far has been a lot of, I'll post a photo, And a lot of times there's not even a lot of thought that goes into that. I think that's what is written here. You need to have a formula. For us, it's talk about the picture in a clean way, add a point of cheeky in. That's our formula. So that I don't even have to be the one that's necessarily writing these. I can pass it off to a team member and say, we can find a photo. I'll show you guys, we have a formula for the photos as well, which I'll get to in a second. Find a photo, formula is talk about the photo and then add a cheeky comment in there, okay? So, here's where we're at this, July 17th. Let's move on to the next photo as we're building on this formula. August 11th, so not that much further along. And here, same thing, we're talking from an I perspective. So you can see right there, I start off with an I, right? I really don't think I can handle the stress of this job, the environment is killing me, and then some little cheeky comment in there, somebody bringing me a margarita and a floating, right?
Love it.
Talking from an I perspective. We've got 10 comments, so more comments on this post. We're already up to 789 likes. We're building an audience as we go, because now people are starting to engage with it. A little bit later that year, talking about it, I'm talking about it as if I'm writing to a friend. It's always from that I perspective. I know I say we here, we got some snow, but I wouldn't say I got some snow today, so that kind of makes sense. And we've got clean comment, and then we have just a little bit cheeky thrown in there, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that is, when we're looking at it, it's something that Donna would say, because Donna happens to be a religious woman, and she might talk in this context. So it's a little bit of Donna coming in there. You can see we're already up to, now we've got 30 comments on this post because we're building an audience that's starting to understand what we're all about and engaging with us. 30 comments on the post. We're now up to 1,400 likes on the picture, right? We have this engagement that's really going on. And what's interesting on this, if I go down the post through all the comments here, is that we start to get comments like this. I just love your sense of humor. It makes me want to stay at your beautiful cabins, whatever, even more. So pretty there. They're starting to actually like comment on what we're actually saying in the post.
Yeah.
And if I went through, I could find tons of examples where they're like, whoever's writing these, like I love the comments, I love like, I put you guys on follow because I love just seeing what you guys have to say next, right?
I really appreciate the 3 nonsensical comments right above there.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It looks like Filipina to me.
Yeah, it might be, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's, that might be a bot or something, I'm not sure. But, so here we can see that we got those comments there. Something else I want you guys to look at is we've been now, because we have an idea of how to grow this account, we've been growing this account. We're at 21,000 followers in this case. We got 1,400 likes and 30 something comments on it. Because we have a sense of what's going on for our brand personality, we're getting this kind of engagement, which I thought was really interesting because if I compare this to a large corporation that doesn't understand personality, we can beat them out. Here's an example from Shell, 213,000 followers. Put a post up. They don't really, in my opinion, they don't really know how to engage on a personality perspective.
I have no idea.
They have less likes and less comments than a post from us at Cozy Cabins because they just don't get how to have a conversation online. So just because you're a smaller business doesn't mean that you don't have power in your hands now that we've got social media. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty cool, right? Okay, so what I want you guys to do now, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to work on this. I want you to think about what's my brand personality? What's the brand personality I want to have coming through when I post my picture? Don't worry about pictures right now. I just wanna look at what's actually coming through in the post itself. What's my formula for the way that I talk, my brand voice? You can pause that there, Steve.